the show.
I don't know what the hell's in there. It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
Thing, released in 1982, it stars Kurt Russell and was directed by John Carpenter. The two of them had teamed up previously for Escape from New York. And like that film, The Thing was not a huge success. It opened up at number 8 and spent 3 weeks in the top 10. It had the misfortune of opening up against Blade Runner and right around that same time E.T., which pretty much crushed everything in its path. When The Thing was released, it wasn't even liked by critics. It was pretty much universally panned. It wasn't until later it caught life on VHS and later DVD. And there were special editions released, there was games, and there was a prequel that came out in 2011, which surprisingly is not too bad. So The Thing was obviously on John Carpenter's radar, because if you go back and watch Halloween, which came out in 1978, not the Rob Zombie movie, but the 78 version, you'll see kids in there watching The Thing from Another World, which was the 1951 version of The Thing, which was based on a book called Who Goes There? So it's a little confusing, because the 51 version by Howard Hawks was not really like the book a lot, but the 1982 version was much like the book, and the 2011 prequel was also called The Thing for some reason, even though it's a prequel to John Carpenter's Thing. I don't know why they named it the same, but that's what they did, just to confuse us all. So the movie starts in the Antarctica. You just hear a dun-dun, 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 which is a brilliant score from Ennio Morricone. Throughout the whole film, it's really simple and it's kind of like the Jaws theme. It drives it. So as this music's going on, you see a Norwegian helicopter going along, and they're shooting at a dog. So you don't know why they're shooting at a dog, but they eventually reach American outpost, and as they land, one of the Norwegians grabs a thermite charge, and it slips right out of his hand and blows up the helicopter, killing him along with it. Now the other Norwegian is there shooting at the dog. So the Americans, a guy named Gary, who was the president in Clear and Present Danger. How dare you bark at me like some junkyard dog? That guy, I don't know his name, but his name is Gary in here, and he blasts the Norwegian right in the head, one shot, and he's done. And they take in the dog, they put him in a kennel. So at this point, the Americans go, okay, we need to research, find out what's going on. So they play detective and go to the Norwegian camp, and they find charred remains and not much else. At one point, they find a guy, and his head is like, it's like an imitation gone wrong. So it looks like something on Hellraiser. There's like a head and like a mutated other head. So they take this back for an autopsy. And Blair's like, hey, the organs look fine to me. I don't see anything out of that ordinary. And at this point, you see MacReady, who's played by Kurt Russell, and he becomes the leader of the group. He's not the leader in the beginning, but he's pretty much the alpha in this film. And it's a great introduction to his character, because he's sitting there playing computer chess, and he loses. And he just gets pissed off. He's like, cheating bitch, and dumps a scotch in there. And it, of course, like blows up like typical 80s explosions. So in the kennel, the dog that they took in that was being shot at starts going ape shit. He's like, shooting out tentacles, and he's trying to like kill or assimilate these other dogs. You're not sure what's going on. So MacReady sets the alarm, and they go in there and they start shooting the dogs, and they take a flamethrower to this creature thing that gets away eventually. And they don't know what the hell's going on. So they go, okay, we're going to have to perform an autopsy. The autopsy is done by Blair, who did the previous autopsy and found nothing. But this time he finds out, and Wilford Brimley's like, see there? That's not dog. That's an imitation.
Diabetes.
Blair theorizes that this thing is over 100,000 years old, and there's still cellular activity from his autopsy. So he's speculating that within a few years, if this alien, this thing, gets to the mainland, they're going to basically assimilate everyone in just a few years. So Blair goes apeshit with his knowledge. He secludes himself, and he starts attacking the other guys in the outpost at one point, and they have to kick the shit out of him, and they lock him in a shed. He's just going apeshit. So at this point, they decide to do a blood serum test, but someone steals the blood serum. So we're getting this whole feeling of like no one trusts anyone. That's the basic overall theme of this whole film, because you don't know if you're talking to a human. You don't know if you're petting a dog. It could be a thing, or you might be talking to a thing. You have no idea in this film what's going on. So MacReady ducks out, and this one guy ditches him, Knowles, because he determines that, hey, I found these clothes that are all ripped up and everything. I think MacReady's the thing. So he tells the rest of the guys, so like, okay, when MacReady comes back, we're going to ambush his ass. So MacReady comes in there, but he's too clever for these guys. He's got a stick of dynamite and he's got a flamethrower. He's like, anyone touches me, this whole fucking camp's going up. So at this point, they decide to do a blood serum test using a petri dish, and everyone's going to put in blood one at a time, and they're going to take a hot needle to it. So if you're the thing, it's going to go apeshit. And that's exactly what happens, because this one guy, he tests positive for it. It's a great shot. The way they have like a worm's eye view, and you just see as soon as he sticks the hot needle, it just goes crazy. And this thing starts attacking some of the people. And so now at this point, we're left with four guys and Blair, they've locked in the shed, who's building a spaceship at this point. Blair's building a spaceship out of used, scavenged helicopter parts. I don't know how this is possible, but it's junk science movie style, and we'll go with that. So they decide to go after this creature. Gary, Knowles, Childs. Childs is Keith David, not David Keith. David Keith was the white guy who played the father in Firestarter and was an officer and gentleman. Keith David's the guy who was in Pitch Black and There's Something About Mary. Now that we cleared that up, MacReady basically says, hey, look, guys, we need to go in full fucking martyr mode, because if we don't, the rest of the world's getting assimilated. This thing's just going to freeze, get seen, taken back to the mainland, and it's going to kill everyone. So Childs goes off. He's gone. Knowles disappears off screen. We just assume he's dead. Gary gets attacked by Blair, who is the thing at this point. It's pretty gruesome. He just sticks his whole hand in Gary's mouth and just spreads his whole mouth apart. Well, he's just doing it all casually, like, you know, no big deal. MacReady's like, okay, hey guys, where are you at? I'm the only one. And then you see the big ass creature. It's like the big reveal at the end. It looks like something out of Resident Evil. So it comes at MacReady, and he's just like, yeah, fuck you too, with his dynamite, throws that, it blows up, and that's it. You don't know if it's dead. You just assume it's dead at that point. So it's like this typical huge, you know, 80s over explosion, but, you know, hey, whatever. So MacReady, he just basically wants to sit down and freeze, die, whatever. He's just like, okay, I did my job. Then he sees Childs coming out. He's like, Childs, where were you? So there's this weird, you know, standoff at this point, and Childs makes an excuse. And, you know, Childs is like, well, what are we going to do at this point? And MacReady just goes, well, if any of us have any surprises, we're not in much shape to do anything about it. So why don't we just wait, see what happens? I love the ambiguous ending. It kind of fits in with the overall feel of the film, the feeling of isolation. You just don't know who to trust. And I love it because it sets up a sequel, which hasn't happened yet. Thankfully it hasn't. But I don't really want to know what happens, you know? Sometimes it's better left to just, you know, wonder, speculate. A lot of people wonder, do the effects hold up? And to me, the effects hold up amazingly well. Rob Bottin, who did the effects, this is why I'm going to say get the special edition. You definitely should get the special edition. It's a 2K scan on Blu-ray. It's amazing. You get, of course, the commentary from John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, but you get tons of interviews from the special effect makeup guys. You get a vignette that's in there just for this, unseen footage. You get theatrical trailers. You get TV, radio spots. It's just definitely worth getting. And if you're going to watch this film, which I recommend you do, I recommend you get that version. Does this film hold up? Hell yeah, it holds up. To me, the golden age of sci-fi horror, sci-fi suspense was the late 70s and mid 80s, where you had Alien, you had Aliens, Terminator, The Fly, and The Thing goes right along with that. Now, I like the 51 version, but to me, the 82 version is the best. And I don't think Kurt Russell's ever been better than he is as MacReady. And I personally don't think John Carpenter's directed a better film. I mean, Starman's great, Halloween's great, but to me, The Thing was the best film that he ever did. And this film, does it hold up? Hell yeah, it holds up, and that's why I give this film an A+. So what did you think of The Thing, the 82 John Carpenter version? Do you like it more than the Howard Hawks 1951 version? And did you see the prequel, which came out in 2011, which in my opinion is not as bad as I thought it would be, and I love the ending, how they have the Norwegian helicopter chasing the dog. It basically shoehorns into this 1982 version, the beginning of that, which is kind of like what they did in Rogue One with New Hope, where the Death Star plans. It kind of shoehorns right into A New Hope. It's brilliant. I liked it, and it's definitely worth your time too to check out, even though it's not as good as the 82 version in my opinion. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in other videos.
I just cannot believe any of this voodoo bullshit.